The United States of America, a nation often characterized by the metaphor of a melting pot, represents a complex tapestry woven from diverse threads of history, culture, and ideology. To understand the contemporary USA, one must embark on a journey through its tumultuous past, tracing the trajectory from a loose collection of colonies to a global superpower. This narrative is not merely a chronicle of dates and battles, but a study of an evolving identity that continues to grapple with its founding principles. The story begins long before the arrival of European settlers, with the indigenous populations who cultivated the land and established intricate societies. However, the conventional historical narrative often pivots to the early 17th century, when British colonization began in earnest. The 13 colonies, initially disparate in their economies and religious practices, were eventually united by a growing dissatisfaction with British rule. This dissent culminated in the Revolutionary War and the subsequent Declaration of Independence in 1776. It was a bold experiment in democracy, asserting that governments derive their power from the consent of the governed. The ratification of the Constitution shortly thereafter provided the blueprint for a federal republic, albeit one that initially excluded women and enslaved people from the promise of liberty. The 19th century was defined by the doctrine of manifest destiny, the belief that American expansion across the continent was both inevitable and divinely ordained. This era paved the way for rapid territorial growth but also resulted in the displacement of Native American tribes and exacerbated sectional tensions over slavery. These tensions eventually erupted into the Civil War, 1861 to 1865, a cataclysmic conflict that threatened to tear the nation apart. The Union's victory and the subsequent emancipation of enslaved people marked a pivotal turning point, though the Reconstruction era that followed failed to fully integrate African Americans into society, leaving scars that are still visible today. As the dust settled on the 19th century, the United States began to usher in an era of unprecedented industrialization. The transition from an agrarian society to an industrial powerhouse drew millions of immigrants from Europe and Asia, seeking their fortune in the land of opportunity. This influx of labor and culture fundamentally altered the demographic landscape of the country. By the time World War I and World War II reshaped the geopolitical order, the USA had emerged not only as a military victor but as an economic hegemon. The post-war period saw the rise of the middle class and the establishment of the United States as a bastion of capitalism against the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Domestically, the mid-20th century was marked by the civil rights movement, a burgeoning struggle for racial equality led by figures such as Martin Luther King Jr. This movement challenged the systemic segregation and disenfranchisement that had persisted for a century after the Civil War. Simultaneously, the country achieved scientific marvels, most notably landing a man on the moon in 1969, a feat that symbolized American ingenuity and ambition. However, this era also witnessed the Vietnam War, which sparked widespread protest and deep political polarization, foreshadowing the cultural divides of the modern era. Entering the 21st century, the United States faced new and complex challenges. The terrorist attacks of September 11, 2001, fundamentally changed the nation's approach to national security and foreign policy. In the ensuing decades, the rapid advancement of technology, led by Silicon Valley, has made American innovation ubiquitous in daily life worldwide. Yet, this technological boom has coincided with widening economic inequality and intense political partisanship. The dichotomy between the country's ideals of unity and the reality of its political landscape remains a central theme in modern American discourse. Today, the USA stands at a crossroads. It is a nation that has demonstrated remarkable resilience in the face of adversity, constantly reinventing itself while striving to live up to the lofty ideals enshrined in its founding documents. From the cobblestone streets of colonial Boston to the digital highways of the information age, the American story is one of constant flux. As the country navigates issues ranging from climate change to social justice, it carries the weight of its history, a history that serves as both a foundation and a cautionary tale for the future.